Riding in 35-degree heat doesn't just test your grip, it is a biological cheat code. Studies show that a structured heat acclimation protocol can boost your VO2 Max and time trial performance by 5 to 8%. And the best part? That power increase carries over directly when you return to cool weather. Hi, I'm Filip from ROUVY. Today we are looking at the precise science of heat training, the exact protocols pros use to force a cardiovascular adaptation, and how to safely train on ROUVY when it's too hot to ride outside. The two problem paradox. Think about your last really hot ride. Your legs probably felt okay, your breathing was fine, but somehow your heart rate was sky high, your power was down, and after an hour you felt completely cooked. That's not a sign of weakness, that's your body trying to solve two problems at once. It's trying to push your blood to your muscles so you can ride harder, and also push blood to your skin so you don't overheat. But if you train in the heat correctly, your body adapts to that stress surprisingly fast. In fact, some studies show that heat acclimation can improve your VO2 Max and endurance performance by around 5 to 8%. Not just in hot weather, but even when you go back to cooler conditions too. Normal power drops versus cardiovascular drift. If your power drops in extreme heat, that's completely normal. In hot conditions, most cyclists' performance drops by around 3 to 6%, sometimes more, and larger riders usually suffer even more because larger bodies produce and hold more heat. So if you go out on a 35°C day, which is around 95 Fahrenheit, and suddenly your normal watts feel impossible, don't panic. Your fitness didn't disappear overnight. What's happening is something called cardiovascular drift. Your body sends more blood to the skin to cool itself, which leaves less blood available for the muscles. Your heart works harder, your core temperature rises, and eventually your body forces you to slow down. How the body adapts? After a few days of repeated heat exposure, your body basically upgrades its self-cooling system. One of the biggest changes is increased plasma volume. This means this liquid part of your blood is increased. Your heart can pump more efficiently. Your body gets better at regulating temperature, and over time, your heart rate actually becomes lower at the same effort. In simple terms, your body becomes much harder to overheat. You also start sweating earlier and more efficiently, and your body gets better at holding onto sodium instead of wasting it. That's why experienced cyclists can sometimes look strangely comfortable in conditions that completely destroy everyone else. The golden rule of heat training. Before you start riding around in a winter jacket in July, here's a really important rule. Heat training is not the same thing as smashing intervals in extreme heat. That's where people get it into trouble. The goal is controlled heat stress, not survival mode. Most research points toward low-intensity endurance riding as the best option, so easy Zone 2 rides, recovery rides, and steady efforts, not VO2 Max intervals and not sprint sessions. Actually, many pro cyclists reduce their overall training load during heat blocks because the heat itself already adds a huge amount of stress. 3 methods pros use. You don't necessarily need a heat wave outside to do heat training. Riders usually do this in 3 ways. The most obvious one is riding outdoors in hot weather. The second option is indoor cycling with extra layer and reduced fan cooling. Basically, you turn your paid cave into a small sauna. And the third method is surprisingly effective. A hot bath immediately after training. Some studies show that sitting in hot water for about 30 minutes after a normal ride can still trigger useful heat adaptations. But remember, if you feel dizzy, nauseous, or stop sweating completely, stop immediately. That's no longer productive training, that's a medical problem. The danger of humidity. There are days when riding outside just becomes a bad idea, especially when the humidity gets really high. Because sweat only cools you if it can evaporate. In dry heat, sweat evaporates fairly well, but in high humidity, the air is already full of moisture, so your sweat just sits there. That's why 30°C or around 86 Fahrenheit with heavy humidity can sometimes feel worse than 40°C in dry desert conditions. Creative cooling hacks. If you live somewhere hot and humid, cooling becomes absolutely critical, and this is where cyclists start getting creative. One trick that riders swear by is pre-cooling before the ride. This means a cold shower, an ice vest, a crushed ice drink, or even just sitting in air conditioning before you head out. Then during the ride, cooling the skin becomes almost as important as drinking. So pour water over your neck, head and arms whenever possible. And yes, the famous ice sock is real. Some people literally fill a sock or stocking with ice and stick it down the back of their jersey. It might look silly, but it really works. Another classic move is the mid-ride gas station stop for an ice slushy if you have time. It cools you from the inside and honestly feels incredible when your core temperature is climbing. Hydration and fueling strategy. Hydration matters too, but most riders still get this wrong. If you wait until you feel thirsty, you're already behind. You're left trying to catch up while your body is already overheating. What to eat and drink before a hot weather ride? In hot conditions, most cyclists should aim to drink roughly 1 bottle per hour, sometimes even more, but water alone is usually not enough. You are losing sodium every time you sweat, and if you don't replace it, that's when cramps, headaches and energy crashes start showing up. The exact number depends on your sweat rate, but many riders need somewhere around 500 to 1000 milligrams of sodium per hour in serious heat. That's a quarter to half a teaspoon. And don't forget carbohydrates. Your body burns through glycogen faster in hot conditions, so fueling becomes even more important. One easy trick is freezing your bottles halfway overnight so they stay cold longer during the ride. A small thing, but big difference. The altitude mindset shift. Another thing that helps a lot is simple adjusting your expectations. Treat extreme heat the same way you would treat altitude. You are not supposed to hit normal numbers, so drop your power targets a little, ride by heart rate or perceived effort instead of by ego. The cyclists who handle summer best are usually not the toughest riders, they are the smartest riders. Taking it indoors with ROUVY. Sometimes the smartest move is moving indoors. That's the beauty of indoor training platform like ROUVY. You have total control over your environment. There's no traffic and zero risk of getting stranded 4 kilometers from home with heat exhaustion. Do you want the visual thrill of a brutal summer ride? ROUVY has plenty of routes that match the mood perfectly. Take Death Valley. This route transports you straight to Mojave Desert in California. It's one of the hottest places on planet and an absolute classic. Or if you really want to crack up intensity, try tackling Mount Ventoux. Imagine you are fighting for the yellow jersey in the peak of July. Just maybe keep at least one fan running. For something a bit more steady, try Savaru National Park in Arizona. It's a gorgeous rolling desert road where you are surrounded by giant cacti under blazing southwest sun. Conclusion. At the end of the day, heat training is basically controlled stress. Too little stress and nothing changes. Too much stress and your body falls apart. But if you get it right, heat can become a surprisingly powerful training tool. You improve cooling, hydration, cardiovascular efficiency, and your ability to stay calm when conditions get ugly. And if you never do formal heat block, just understanding how your body reacts in hot weather can make summer riding much more manageable. So now, I want to hear from you. What's your go-to heat training strategy? Is it indoor heat sessions, extra cooling, the ice sock? Let me know in the comments. And if this video helped you, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Train smart, stay cool, and let the heat work for you instead of against you. And remember, keep going!